The phone rang while I was halfway through my sandwich, and right away, I knew it was him. That long pause before the voicemail clicks in. Classic dad. I let it go. Again. By the fourth ring, I cracked and picked up. "Where the hell have you been?" he asked, voice low and heavy, like I owed him something. "I've been calling you all day." I wiped mustard off my hand and lied straight through my teeth. "Working. Just slammed." Truth. I saw his name flash at least 5 times. Ignored every single one. "Right," he said. Long pause. "Anyway, we've been talking about Thanksgiving." That's when my stomach started to sink. He stretched out the words like they were a trap being set in real time. Thought maybe this year we'd try something new. Shake it up a little. I kept quiet. Just waited. We got 4 tickets to that PGA tournament out in Palm Desert. 3-day pass, Thursday to Saturday. I already knew what was coming next, but I asked anyway. "Am I coming?" Another pause. He coughed into the phone like that would cover the guilt. "Well, we were thinking, with Grandma May and all." I cut him off. "You need someone to stay behind." "She trusts you," he said fast. Too fast. "You know how she gets, and you're good with her. You've always been good with her." I stared at the crust of my sandwich. Appetite gone. "You're serious?" "She needs help. We can't take her with us. It's too hot out there. Too much walking. And you're the only one not really doing anything." "Not doing anything," I repeated. "You work from home. It's easier for you." Quick note before we keep going. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. He kept talking like I hadn't already checked out. "It'll just be for a couple of days. Friday morning, we'll call to check in. Maybe bring her something back, a souvenir or..." "I'm 42, Dad." "What does that have to do with anything?" "I'm not a live-in caregiver. I'm your kid, not your damn fallback plan." He didn't say anything. Just breathed into the phone like that was supposed to guilt me into saying yes. I didn't. He finally let out a forced little laugh. "You're overreacting. It's just Thanksgiving." No, it wasn't. It never was. I stared out the kitchen window while he droned on about tea times and desert sunsets. My knuckles tightened around the phone. I knew right then. He'd never even planned to invite me. He just wanted coverage. I walked straight to the sink, dumped the rest of my sandwich in the trash, and said, "Yeah, I gotta go." I set the phone down, but my hand hovered over it. I hadn't even taken 2 steps before I picked it back up and called him right back. He answered on the first ring. "Were you ever gonna ask me to do this, or just assume?" I said. No greeting, no fluff. "Come on," he sighed. "It's not that big a deal." "That's not an answer. You're the reliable one. We all know that." My jaw clenched. "Reliable? That's your excuse?" There was a pause. Then his voice dropped into that snippy, fake calm tone he always used when he didn't like being told no. "You know what your problem is? You always make everything about you." I rolled my eyes so hard it hurt. "Because I won't spend Thanksgiving spoon-feeding someone while the rest of you post poolside pictures? Yeah, I'm real selfish." This was supposed to be a nice trip. A break. Faith's been stressed, your mother's got that knee thing going on, and Thomas can hire a sitter if he wants time off. You all can. My voice came out low and steady. "You made a plan without me. You made a plan that used me, and now you're mad I'm not just rolling over." He went quiet for a second, then came back with, "So what? You want us to cancel everything? I want you to stop treating me like the family sponge. You mess up the plan, I soak up the damage. Not anymore. You don't understand how hard this is on us." "Hard?" I snapped. "You're going to Palm Desert. This isn't a funeral. It's a damn golf vacation." "I shouldn't have called you," he muttered. No, you should have called me sooner. Maybe before you booked the tickets. Maybe before you decided my Thanksgiving didn't matter. His silence said it all. I kept going. Let me be real clear. Since you didn't feel the need to check with me first, I'm not doing it. He inhaled sharp like he was about to start a full-on rant. But I beat him to it. If you expect me to be your caregiver, don't expect me to come back home again. Not for birthdays, not for holidays, not for anything. You'd cut off your own family over this? He asked, like I was the crazy one. I didn't flinch. If the only time you see me is when you need free labor, then yeah, I'm out. You're making a huge mistake, he said flat, like a threat. No, I said. I'm just done cleaning up your messes. He hung up. Didn't even say goodbye. I stared at the black screen for a second, then tossed the phone on the couch and grabbed my keys. I needed air. And distance. I drove around aimlessly for almost an hour, windows down, just trying to cool the fire in my chest. Ended up parked outside an old strip mall, chewing the inside of my cheek and staring at nothing. It wasn't just about Thanksgiving. It never was. It was about every time I'd been the one holding the bag. My junior year of college, Rachel, my best friend since middle school, was getting married in Portland. I had the dress. I had the flight. I was supposed to give a toast. 2 days before the wedding, Mom called. Your dad can't take me. I have my appointment with the cardiologist, and it's an hour away. I can't go alone. I offered to reschedule the flight. She said no. I needed to cancel the trip. So I did. Cried on the phone to Rachel. Watched the pictures roll in from Instagram. Said nothing to my family. And they never brought it up again. And there were a dozen smaller moments like that. Every time they needed something, I dropped everything. 2 years ago, when Grandma May fell and broke her hip, I was the one sleeping in the plastic chair next to her hospital bed. When she came home, she was slower, forgetful, kept mixing up names, forgetting what day it was. The family whispered the word dementia like it was a dirty secret. But once the diagnosis was unofficially assumed, they all backed off like it was no longer their problem. Guess who didn't? I made her toast every morning, cut her pills, and watched her swallow them, cleaned her bed sheets when she had an accident, and cried from embarrassment. I bought new sheets without asking for reimbursement. Every time I mentioned needing a break, Mom would say, "Well, you work from home, right? It's easier for you." Right? Easier. While they went to Mexico, sent me photos of ziplining in the jungle and margaritas by the beach. Meanwhile, I was scraping dried soup off Grandma's chin, while she told me the same story about my grandfather's lawnmower for the 4th time that day. Nobody asked me how I was doing. Nobody ever offered to switch off. They all acted like my schedule was made of spare parts, just free time they could borrow from. I started to realize it one night when I called Mom, just needing to vent. Told her I was exhausted, said I might need someone to come stay with Grandma for a weekend so I could get away. She said, "You've always been the responsible one. I don't know if Thomas or Faith could handle her like you do." That was it. That was the moment it clicked. I wasn't family, I was function. I shut off the car, headed into the 7-Eleven, grabbed a Coke and a pack of jerky, and walked right back out. I sat on my porch that night, drinking a warm Coke and watching some kid across the street try to land a kickflip for the 20th time. Phone buzzed in my hoodie pocket. Natalie. She knew the drill. We still talked every now and then. Usually late, usually real. "You good?" she asked as soon as I answered. "No," I said. "They're doing it again. Trying to dump Grandma on me for Thanksgiving so they can hit some golf tournament in Palm Desert." "Jesus! What, they just decided you were available?" "They didn't decide. They assumed." She didn't even hesitate. "You're doing the right thing. Don't cave. They've been using you as their emotional mule for years." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "That's exactly what it feels like," I said. Like, I'm just this thing they pile all their crap on, and as long as I don't complain, everything keeps moving. Except now you are complaining. Good. She always had that calm voice that made things sound clear. Not soft, just clear. You're not their safety net. Let 'em fall on their own for once. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. The next 2 days were a flood. Missed calls from Mom, 3 voicemails in a row from Dad, all saying the same crap in different tones. First guilt, then fake understanding, then irritation. Then Thomas jumped in. "Do what's right for the family," the first text read. "You know she needs you. This whole trip depends on you not making a scene." I didn't reply to any of them, but the pressure was steady, like someone leaning on a sore spot. Finally, late Wednesday night, I picked up when Dad called. No idea why. Just tired of the noise, I guess. His voice came through surprisingly calm. "Hey, look, I get it. You've got your own life. We won't ask you to babysit. Just stop by the morning we leave. Grandma would love to see you. That's it? You're not gonna try to guilt me into staying the whole weekend?" "Nope. Just one morning. Come by, have coffee with her, then head home." He sounded almost reasonable. Too reasonable. "You sure?" I asked. "Positive. No hidden agenda, I promise." I rubbed my forehead. "You'll be back before lunch?" "We're leaving early. Like, really early. We'll already be gone when you get there." Something about how fast he said that made my stomach turn. "I'm not taking care of her, Dad. Not this time. I'm not staying longer than an hour." He chuckled lightly. "Of course. Just stop in, say hi, that's it." It felt off. Too smooth, too easy. But I wanted to believe. I told myself maybe they'd finally figured it out. Maybe all that pushback actually got through. "Fine," I said. "I'll come by, just for a bit." "Great. She'll be happy to see you." I hung up and stared at the screen. Something still didn't sit right. But I didn't want to be the paranoid one. Not yet. I pulled into the driveway just after 7, sun barely up, streets still quiet. No cars. Not a single one. Their van was gone. Thomas's silver SUV, gone. Even the stupid garden gnome was missing off the porch, like it got sick of their crap and walked away too. I stared for a second, hand still on the wheel. They'd left without saying a word, not even a fake goodbye. I walked up and rang the bell. Footsteps came quick. A second later, the door swung open, and there she was. Grandma May, fully dressed, hair curled, lipstick on, like she was about to head out to Sunday brunch. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, bright and clear. I blinked. "You look good." "They left early," she said, waving a hand like it was no big deal. "Didn't want to miss their tea time." Then she pulled me inside like she'd been waiting for me. The living room was spotless. No clutter, no mess, no weird smell like there had been last time I visited. I glanced over at her. "You're up early," she grinned. "Didn't sleep. You seem sharp today." Her eyes lit up. "I am sharp every day. I just stopped letting them see it." I froze. "What?" She walked over to the kitchen counter, poured herself a cup of coffee, no shaking in her hands, no fumbling. "I'm not confused, sweetheart. I never was." My brain short-circuited. "They said you had dementia." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. I had one bad reaction to anesthesia, and suddenly everyone's treating me like a houseplant." I let it ride. Wanted to see who stuck around when they thought I was fading. I leaned against the fridge. "You've been pretending?" She sipped her coffee and nodded. "I needed to know who really gave a damn. Turns out it was just you." I stared at her, completely thrown. "They treat me like a burden," she said. Like I'm some old sack of bones to hand off when it's inconvenient. But you stayed. I stayed because I thought you needed me, I said slowly. I did need you, just not in the way they made it out to be. I didn't know what to say. She didn't wait for me to find words, walked down the hall, came back with a small suitcase in one hand and her coat in the other. I'm packed, she said. For what? We're leaving. Leaving where? Anywhere but here. I've got cash, a plane ticket, and 2 IDs. I made some calls. Friend of mine from way back lives in Florida. Says we can stay in her condo near the beach. I blinked again, slower this time. You're serious? As a heart attack. You want to vanish? Just long enough to make them sweat. Let them come home to a house that's too quiet and think about what they've done. I let out a half laugh, half wheeze. Jesus, Grandma, she smiled. You in? My heart was racing. Part of me wanted to say no, that this was nuts, that we were crossing a line. But then I pictured that blank spot in the driveway, that smug thanks for coming tone in Dad's voice. That list of times I'd been tossed aside like a backup plan. I grabbed the suitcase from her hand. Let's go. We headed toward the front door, but something on the dining table caught my eye. A folded sheet of paper, right in the middle, with my name written in Dad's blocky handwriting. I opened it. 3 pages, bullet points, times, notes. Breakfast at 8. 2 eggs, toast. Meds after lunch. 1 pink, 1 white, both with water. Keep her from wandering. Don't let her near the stairs. It was the instruction manual, like I was the hired help. I crumpled the pages, tossed them on the table, and grabbed my phone. Mom answered on the second ring, voice syrupy and fake. Sweetheart, how's everything? Cut it, I said. Where are you? A pause. We're just getting breakfast. Why? Don't lie to me. I'm looking at your note right now. What note? She said, playing dumb. The one with a 3-day schedule, like I'm some caretaker you paid by the hour. You think I wouldn't notice you ditched her? She stammered. We didn't ditch her. We just... If you're not back here within an hour, I said, voice low, I'm calling Adult Protective Services. Silence. Then Dad's voice came through in the background, muffled but panicked. Tell him we're just at the entrance, he said. Mom's tone shifted fast. Honey, calm down. We're just at the entrance, turning around now. Save it, I said, and hung up. Grandma stood by the door, suitcase handle tight in her hand. Well, she said, that'll get their attention. Good, I said. Let's go before they remember how to manipulate. We loaded her bag into my car. She was steady. No hesitation, no confusion, just quiet purpose. By the time we hit the highway, my phone was lighting up nonstop. Calls, texts. We can talk about this. You're being dramatic. Don't do anything stupid. I turned the phone off and tossed it into the back seat. Grandma watched the road ahead, calm as a statue. You sure about this? I asked. She smiled. Been sure for months. I just needed the right moment. At the airport, she moved faster than I expected. Knew exactly where to go. Pulled 2 tickets from her purse like she'd been planning this forever. Florida, she said. Warm, quiet, and far away. I looked at her, half laughing, half shocked. You're dangerous. She chuckled. You have no idea. While we sat at the gate waiting to board, she reached into her bag again and handed me an envelope. Open it. Inside was a copy of a legal document, her new will, my name at the top. What is this? I asked. It's what they were afraid of, she said. I've left everything to you. My condo, the savings, the stocks. I already met with a lawyer, and I've got medical documentation proving I'm fully competent. Grandma, that's... She raised a hand. Don't argue. This isn't payment. It's protection. They'll come after you when they realize I'm not as helpless as they want me to be. This makes sure you're covered." I looked down at the papers again, her signature neat and strong, not shaky. She leaned back in the chair, satisfied. "You were the only one who showed up when it wasn't convenient. That's who I want holding the cards." I didn't know what to say. My throat was tight, but I nodded. When they called our boarding group, we stood. Before we left, she grabbed a scrap of paper from her purse and scribbled something quick. "What's that?" I asked. "Closure," she said. Later, after we parked near the gate, I doubled back to the house for one last thing. Left her note on the kitchen table, right where their stupid schedule had been. In big, even letters, it read, "I'm not sick. I'm just done." A week later, we landed back in California, sunburned, relaxed, and about 10 pounds heavier from all the fried seafood. Grandma was glowing. The ocean air had turned her into a whole new person, awake, present, sharp as hell. I dropped her off at her condo, made sure she had food and her meds lined up, then headed home for the first time in days. My phone had stayed off the entire trip. I didn't want to deal. But the minute I walked through my door, I turned it on and made the mistake of opening Facebook. Boom, there it was. A fresh post from Mom, dated 2 days ago. "So sad when family abandons the elderly in their time of need. We raised our children better than this." No name, no direct tag. But she knew what she was doing. The comments made it worse. How could someone do that to their own mother? People these days have no loyalty. Heartless. Over 200 likes. Relatives, church people, neighbors I hadn't seen in years all piling on. Nobody asked for my side. Nobody even hesitated. My hands were shaking, not from guilt, but from the rage boiling up. I opened a new post. My fingers moved fast. No filter. No sugarcoating. Let's get the full story straight. Thanksgiving weekend, my parents and brother left my grandmother, who they claim is confused, at home with a typed 3-day care schedule and no one to help her. Why? So they could go to a golf tournament. What they didn't expect was that Grandma isn't confused at all. She's sharp. She's tired of being treated like luggage. And she chose to leave. I have the note they left me. I have the texts. I have the voicemail from my mom pretending they were just at the entrance when I caught them lying. I have legal documentation proving Grandma is of sound mind and capable of making her own decisions. So if you want to talk abandonment, look at the people who left their own mother behind with a checklist. Not the person who gave her a way out. Screenshots attached, receipts included. I posted it and set the privacy to public. I wasn't hiding anymore. By morning, it had over 5,000 shares. Comments were rolling in faster than I could read them. Strangers writing things like, "This happened to my aunt. I was the only one who stayed too. Thank you for saying what so many of us are scared to. Your grandma is a legend." I kept scrolling until my eyes hurt. It wasn't just going viral. It hit a nerve. People started tagging their siblings, their parents, calling out the same quiet exploitation that had been eating me alive for years. Then the private messages started. Friends of the family. Extended cousins, a few even apologized for liking Mom's post. But most stayed quiet. My email pinged mid-afternoon. It was from Dad. Subject line, "Unbelievable. How could you humiliate us like this? You've destroyed our reputation. Faith is in tears. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. I read it 3 times and closed the window without replying. You know what I didn't see anywhere in his message? The truth. No denial of what they had done. Just outrage that people finally knew. I turned my phone on silent, stood up, and opened all the windows in the house. Let the air in. Let it all in. That night, I was pacing the kitchen, trying to let the wind and silence settle my head, when Grandma called. Her voice came through strong, no hesitation. "We need a lawyer," she said. "For what?" I asked, though deep down I already knew. "To protect ourselves. They're not gonna stop. Not after that post." She wasn't wrong. Since the thing went viral, the phone hadn't stopped. Texts, emails. Even someone from the church messaged me saying I should repent for shaming my own family. "All right," I said. "Let's do it." Next morning, I met with a local family attorney, someone my old coworker had recommended. Her name was Rachel Weaver. Early 40s, sharp eyes, didn't waste time. I laid it all out. The abandonment, the fake schedule, the social media smear campaign, the fact that Grandma was being treated like she was mentally incompetent when she wasn't. She listened, took notes, then looked at me like we were already halfway through trial. "You've got a solid case. Harassment, defamation, elder neglect. Especially if you've got the proof you say you do. I've got screenshots, voicemails, timestamps, everything," I said. "And your grandmother is willing to testify?" "More than willing. She's pissed." Rachel smiled. "Then we start with cease and desist letters. Let's see if they come to their senses before we go nuclear." We sent the letters out that afternoon. One to Mom, one to Dad, one to Thomas and Faith. 2 days later, Mom was back on Facebook, claiming we were holding Grandma against her will. "Pray for our family," she wrote. "There's confusion. There's heartbreak. We just want May safe." Grandma nearly threw her tablet across the room. "She thinks safe means controlled," she muttered. "Well, not anymore." I called Rachel. "We're done playing nice." She didn't blink. "Then we file." Filing the lawsuit made everything real. Suddenly, we weren't just the scapegoats anymore. We were the plaintiffs. Defamation, harassment, emotional distress, elder neglect. They didn't see it coming. Thomas called twice. I let it go to voicemail both times. Then they changed tactics, started accusing me. Dad told anyone who'd listen that I had mental health issues, that I was unstable, always dramatic. Faith posted a cryptic photo of her and the twins with the caption, "All we can do is pray when people break." I stayed silent, didn't engage. But when we got to court, I didn't have to say much. Grandma did all the talking. She took the stand in a simple gray blazer, hair curled, hands steady. Looked the judge dead in the eye and told the whole story. How she'd pretended to be forgetful. How she'd kept a journal of every time they'd left her alone. Every errand they'd forgotten to run. Every day she was skipped like some afterthought. She detailed their trip. The instructions, the lies, the cover-up. "I played along because I wanted to see who would actually care if I disappeared," she said. "Turns out it was just him." She pointed right at me. Judge didn't flinch, just nodded and kept taking notes. The opposing side tried to paint her as confused, misled, manipulated by me. Grandma leaned forward, looked the lawyer dead in the face, and said, "You're mistaking quiet for weakness. I've been more awake than all of you." Their entire argument fell apart. By the time we walked out of the courtroom, I could see it in their eyes. They'd lost. They just didn't know how bad yet. 2 weeks later, the judge delivered the ruling. Courtroom was dead silent. Not a cough. Not a whisper. She looked straight at my family, Mom, Dad, Thomas, Faith, and read it out like she was scraping their names off a headstone. This family used guilt and manipulation to exploit one member under the assumption of emotional obedience. That ends today. I didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. She continued, calm as hell. "Full restraining orders granted. Defendants are to pay financial damages in the amount of $75,000. A public retraction of the online statements must be posted and maintained for a minimum of 60 days. Mom gasped. Faith's eyes welled up. Thomas looked like someone had kicked him in the chest. Dad just stared at the floor. We won. After the verdict, Grandma grabbed my arm and whispered, Let's go home. We didn't say a word to the rest of them. Back at my place, we started fresh. She moved into the guest room. We cleared out the clutter and turned the den into a little home studio. 2 desks, one for her puzzle books and emails, one for me and my laptop. I finally cracked open the file I'd been avoiding for 5 years. The draft of a novel I always told myself I didn't have time for. Turns out, time shows up fast when you stop giving it away. While we built our routine, their lives unraveled. First came the news about Dad. Forced into early retirement after his company's HR department got a copy of the court ruling. Apparently, they didn't like the idea of their regional manager being labeled legally abusive. Then, Mom, fired from her job at the high school office when parents started calling about her post. Someone printed the judge's quote and stuck it in every teacher's mailbox. Thomas's design firm lost 2 big clients in 1 week. Faith deleted all her social media accounts after someone tagged her in my viral post with the words, "This you?" They tried to spin it, told people the court got it wrong, claimed I manipulated Grandma, that we tricked the system, but nobody was buying it anymore. One afternoon, while Grandma and I were organizing books in the studio, she looked up and said, "Do you feel better now?" I had to think about it. "I feel clear," I said, like I finally stopped holding my breath. She smiled, went back to arranging her crossword books by color, like it actually mattered. Some nights I still felt it, that old guilt twitching under the surface. The voice in my head that said, maybe they didn't mean it, maybe you overreacted. Then I'd see the court papers on my desk, or the photo of Grandma smiling in Florida, toes in the water, no schedule taped to the fridge. That guilt faded real fast. We weren't hiding anymore. They lost their mask. We found our peace. 1 year later, things felt right. Grandma and I had our rhythm down. Mornings were for coffee and her YouTube channel, May Knows, where she gave advice to seniors about tech, travel, and keeping your kids from stealing your retirement. She had over 6,000 subscribers. I was half proud, half terrified. I worked part-time freelancing. Nothing fancy, just enough to keep the bills steady. And the rest of the time went into the book. I was on chapter 19. The house was quiet most days, but never heavy. Just comfortable. Like it had finally been cleared out of all the noise. Of course, some of that noise still tried to creep back in. Every couple weeks I'd get a message request, usually a cousin. You didn't have to go nuclear. Family means forgiveness. You'll regret this when she's gone. I didn't answer. I didn't argue. I just hit delete. Let them live in their own made-up version. I'd seen the truth up close. Natalie and I met for coffee once a month. Not to rehash the past, just to check in, talk, laugh, breathe. Last week she looked at me over her cup and said, "You look lighter." I nodded. I feel it. She gave me that sideways look of hers. Curious, patient. No regrets? None, I said. Blood doesn't mean I owe them my life. She smiled, didn't say anything for a second, then nodded once. Firm. Exactly. I thought about it the whole drive home. They wanted to talk about duty, loyalty, the weight of family. But what they really meant was silence, compliance, being useful. Real family shows up when there's nothing to gain. And I'd found that. In the woman everyone else treated like a burden. We weren't just surviving anymore. We were living. And that was enough. Would you have gone no contact with your family? Drop your answer in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.